picture drop-down. So that's, you could also use, I don't know if you have to do submittal of drawings or packages.
Yep.
So in most companies, they'll get, I don't know where the submittal is on here.
Well, we put them in there under document control.
Yeah.
And then you'll find transmittals, and that's where submittals would go.
Okay. So in here, typically what you do is you're going to have other columns that are more meaningful to that process. So you're going to have, submit by, I can't spell, submit by date, because you want to manage when you're supposed to get that document out to whoever, and we'll make that date. And then you might make another column. I don't know, it could be approved by, or like you're just going to put these other columns in that will help you to manage the full process. When was it submitted? When was it approved? Approved by date?
Approved, not approved.
Approved, not approved, check boxes. And all it's going to do is just going to have these little dates off to the side that you can edit. Now, you can edit them through go in. So on this document, you can click on what are called edit properties. And the properties just open up a form, so it's kind of dangerous if you just blast out a whole file folder. But here you can put in one document at a time, and the dates fill out. And when you go to add a document, it will prompt you typically to fill in the metadata as it goes in. Now, this only works if you're doing it one by one. If you do it in bulk, everything goes in, and then you have to do the edit of the properties afterwards. You might call it best practice. Sometimes I put another field for like a synopsis of or an abstract of the document itself. So sometimes people don't want to open up the document these times, so you might want to have another column off to the side that briefly describes what's in the document, so you don't have to click on it, click on it.
I'm picturing this like our document register, where the folder becomes a document register.
Pretty much. So that's some of the basics in terms of, like, I think in the beginning, all you really need to do is click on that document or drag in the documents, and that's it. And then this stuff you can evolve into it. The other feature sets that you should be aware of is that SharePoint has both approvals, alerts, and check-ins and check-outs, and version controls that are all incorporated into it. So how this works is that if you want to edit this document, which I'll do this document, if I wanted to edit this document, I could check it out, and it's like a library. If you go into the library, you check out a document, that little arrow means that I own that document. It's checked out to me, whoever logged in, and if someone else were to come in, they can only see these two. They can't see this one.
Is there a way you...
Yeah, there's a way.
They can read all the documents.
Yes.
And just see the history.
Yes. So then you can go in and you can edit this document, put in whatever it happens to be. I click Save. I click Close. And it says others can't see until we check it in. Do we want to check it in now? Yes, I do. Why are we doing it? So there's some version reasons. So I adjusted this document because of I click OK, and it goes back in. Now, I don't have the column for version over there, but it is, maybe we didn't turn on versioning yet. But there is capability of versioning up these documents so that the beauty is it's only one hyperlink, there's only one file, but we have multiple versions. We know who checked it in, who checked it out, what the edit was, and you can roll back and restore a previous version of these documents.
Can anybody manage permissions, or can that be logged in?
Yes, the permission level. So the question was around permissions. So just go back up to the folder level. So way up at the parent, so at the job level, so the parent structure, you can begin to control securities through these things called managed permissions, and then every subfolder down, even to the file level, so you can control permissions. Now, the amount of permission that you put in is, you have to think about the folder structure as it relates to permissions, so that it doesn't become like a nightmare to control. But at a very basic level, you have these types. You have the ability to contribute, the ability to assign permissions, full control, read, full control, so you can do pretty much anything, like add, delete, that, or just view only. These are set up with what are called Active Directory groups. So you'll have, project managers as a Active Directory group, and they will have one of these core permission sets. And then you'll have maybe project administrators, and maybe they'll have a different access.
Can I ask what's the difference between read and view only?
View, I don't think you can open up anything.
So you basically just view an
You just
image.
look at, yeah. You can't. It'll open up. Most of these documents will open up in a browser format. Normally, there's an option here that says View in Browser. When you go to your regular environment, it should activate. And so then it'll open up, if it's a Word document, it'll open up in the browser version of SharePoint. It's actually settings, so you have to think about where you're going to be using this and what version of Office you have. But if you're just working internally, it doesn't matter. It'll just use your local.
Can I ask a question about version tracking?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a process in which we work on a native file, such as a Word file or a drawing. It becomes a PDF. That PDF transmits internally to the next workflow, which is like the engineer from the draftsman, and they will do checking of the drawing. They'll add markups to the drawing, so they'll check out that PDF document, add markups to it, and then check it back in for the draftsman to now implement those markups.
Yep.
And then they produce a new PDF that would be essentially a new version of that. Now, we use file name of RARB, for instance, for versioning on Rev 0.
Yep.
We only give the 0, the 1, the 2s once we internally finish it, and it goes to the outside our company.
Yep.
Does this have the ability to track against like one type of versioning, like our ABC, and then switch to 1, for instance, when we say it's controlled now?
It has something it has this concept of major version and minor version.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Major and minor. Yeah. Okay.
So you would you tick on this, so you would be at Rev 0, and it would be .1, .2, .3, .999, and then Rev 1, and that's the official.
Gotcha. Okay. That's
and then 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.999, 2.
And what's that called?
It's under the versioning settings of the library called Create Major and Minor.
So we have majors of 1, 2, 3, 4, minors of A, B, C, D.
Well, we'll have to adjust.
This only does
1.1,
1.1, 1.2, 1.3. This is the native. At least the native, from its perspective, you could use those metadata, those extra columns, to keep your ABCs. But it doesn't have a different way of.
We could probably adjust our process to adapt to the .1, .2, and that becomes our final one.
These are some of the other settings, whether you require approval. So SharePoint does have some workflow built into it. So when you check in a document, it might say, well, this document requires approval before you can submit it to a major version. And it's kind of neat. It will launch an email, and it will create a task for that person to go, obviously, look at the drawing and approve it. So with this activated, you're in this test environment, you'll see some other things highlighted. So the versioning here, you can set up alerts as well. If you want to be alerted with any folder. So if you want to know if there's new photos being added or if anybody is touching your project in any way, you can set up alerts on the whole folder structure called Alert Me. You can set up an alert that it will either email you immediately or send you a text message when anything is added, or any changes, anything is deleted, and tell you that immediately or daily or weekly. It's kind of neat functionality. There's also this RSS feed. So if you had that turned on in your Outlook, it would come in like a newsreel. So hopefully that gives you enough. Do you feel comfortable? Does anyone want to try to add a document, or does it look fairly simple, easy enough to do?
Oh, yeah. Could I ask a couple of questions before you?
Yep.
Because it sounds like you're kind of finished.
I'm going to switch over to your live system.
Okay, so these questions are answered by the live systems, and just tell me.
Okay. Yep.
Two questions I was wondering about is, you mentioned access from around the world. Do we need to be on our VPN?
No.
In order to get access to SharePoint outside the company?
No.
Okay. So far, I haven't been able to do that yet, but that's probably not because it's not enabled. So that's a good thing. And it's like a secure website we can go into and get access? Okay. The second one is, can we allow just thinking about this, can we allow like a guest login for our vendors to upload documents to us? So when they're going to submit documents for our approval, we have a vendor receiving, for these received documents, and instead of they're emailing it to us, can they upload it directly to our site?
There's two ways of handling it. First way is that these folders can be assigned an email address. So it'll be project, whatever, 123@sct.com.
Right.
And then if anybody emails, basically goes into a drop folder, into a folder in SharePoint. So you just have to email, and you'll get a copy of the document landing here. And then someone says, "Oh, I need to move that to wherever." And then you would go into the Explorer mode, drag and drop. The other method is that you have to give them a visitor access. You have to create a domain user on your network, which is a security breach or whatever.
Okay.
But you give them, you create a visitor domain, like the same way that you granted Box. You created a Box user so that we could log in. It's the same sort of thing. And you could then restrict their access through the native security. But they are a domain user. So I don't know who's in charge of IT, but that would be the
Well, the email to folder sounds like a reasonable compromise.
Okay. Any other questions?
Those are the two that I had.
So.
Actually, do the guys in Richmond have any questions?
Oh, that's true.
No, I don't have any at this time.
Neither me. Thanks.
Okay. So, switching gears a little bit, this is your web-deployed production environment